when Ravenhurst Mental Hospital shut its doors in 1994. The official reason given was budget restructuring. But the real reason never made it onto paper. I know this because I was there. I worked there. Ravenhurst was built back in the 1930s, a time when treatment for the mentally ill meant isolation, heavy sedation, and basically forgetting people existed. The architecture of the place reflected that dark philosophy. It had these long, curving hallways, designed so you could never see the end. All the doors locked from the outside. The windows were reinforced so tightly they couldn't be opened, let alone broken. It was a fortress designed to hold people in, not to heal them. By the time I started working there in the late 80s, the hospital was meant to have been modernized. New methods. Better care, that was the promise. But one section was left untouched. Ward D. Ward D was where they kept the patients classified as deeply sick. These were individuals whose very sense of reality was pliable. Their files never used the word experiment, but that's exactly what it was. The theory behind Ward D was disturbingly simple. The doctors believed that if you stripped a person of their routine, their identity, and any sense of certainty for long enough, they would become completely moot. They would accept any new pattern you imposed on them. New rules, no truths, and, most importantly, new fears. Life in Ward D was governed by a rule of absolute silence. After lights out, patients were forbidden from speaking. Staff were instructed not to respond, even if they did. The only sounds you were supposed to hear were the soft tread of footsteps and the rhythm of breathing. For the first few months I was there, it all seemed to work in a chillingly functional way. The ward was quiet, orderly, controlled. Then, things started to change. The patients stopped acting afraid. They stopped begging to be let out. They stopped crying. They didn't even flinch when we administered injections anymore. Instead, they just watched us. Their eyes followed our every move with an unnerving stillness. And then came the 3:03 a.m. ritual. Every single night. At precisely 3:03 a.m., all 27 patients in Ward D would sit up in their beds. It happened at the exact same moment. There was no cue, no audible signal, and no medication schedule that could explain it. They would just sit there, bolt upright eyes, wide open, staring down the hallway. But they weren't looking at us. They were looking at something behind us. I reported it, of course. My supervisor, the head physician, just waved it off. Tomato stopped projecting. He said I was letting the atmosphere get to me. Then, a patient named Elisa Moore vanished. Her room was locked from the outside. As always, her bed was perfectly made. Not a wrinkle in the sheets. Her restraints were folded neatly on the chair, as if someone had tidied up for an inspection. The security footage showed nothing. No one entered, no one left, except for one detail. At 3:03 a.m. every patient in Ward D slowly turned their head in unison, all looking directly at Eliza's door. And then, they smiled. After Eliza's disappearance, the staff started to unravel. Orderlies would complain about hearing footsteps echoing behind them in empty halls. Nurses swore they saw locked doors slowly swing open on their own. One guy quit on the spot after claiming a patient had whispered his childhood nickname to him, a name he had UNT heard in 20 years, a name that wasn't in any file. The worst part? The patient started helping. It was the most unnerving thing of all. If a nurse tripped and fell, a patient would calmly press the call button. If a piece of equipment malfunctioned, a patient would silently point it out. When a new staff member started, all the patients would just stare at them with this look. A look that was dangerously close to anticipation. It felt like we weren't the observers anymore. It felt like we were the ones being studied. One night I was doing the medication rounds, and I noticed something wrong with the charts. Patient names were missing. They weren't crossed out or erased te werihust. Gone. Gone. In their place were handwritten descriptions. The tall one, the one who breathes wrong. The replacement, I tried to laugh it off as a sick prank, until I recognized my own handwriting on one of the notes. I have absolutely no memory of writing it. That was the last night. At 3:03 a.m., the power to the entire ward failed. The emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in a hellish red glow. And just like every other night, the patients sat up. But this time they didn't stay in bed. They stood up. All 27 of them. They turned to face the nurses' station, and in a single, unified voice, they spoke. It wasn't loud. It wasn't urgent. It was a calm, synchronized chorus. They said, "Thank you for showing us how." The security cameras caught us, the staff backing away down the hall. We moved slowly, calmly, obediently. We looked like patients being escorted away. What the footage didn't show was what happened next, because every camera in the hospital went dead at the exact same moment. When the power finally came back on, Ward D was empty. No patients, no restraints, no bodies. No bodies. The only thing left behind were the staff lockers, which had been neatly relabeled with the patients' names. Ravenhurst was officially shut down 2 weeks later. The final report cited a mass escape, aided by internal sabotage from disgruntled staff. But there's something that report could never explain. Every year since that night, every single former staff member from Ward D receives a piece of mail. It always arrives without a return address or a postage stamp. Inside is a single sheet of paper with one sentence: "We're still practicing," and every single letter arrives at 3:03 in the morning.